How can I do elsewise with 10 days annual time off? 10. Should I only get 5? You motherfucker. Go to literally any other first world country and get 20 days off. I assume you do not actually get only 10 days a year off of work. Capitalize on your weekends and plan a decent trip with your time off. Changed my entire way of being, actually planning my weekends ahead of time to get the most out of them. Wow, that's depressing. I get 25 days minimum by law. I agree with the sentiment, but for most people their jobs are their lives. It's all they work for right when they start school. Sad because so many people's identities revolve around one thing even before being a parent. Especially when you work in a field you are very passionate about, I can't imagine how it cannot be your whole life. Jobs are a means to an end. You use them for money so you can survive in the rest of the world. Don't ever think the job deserves more lives more than your allegiance to a corporation. To give you some insight, I could set up a company for less than £100. Then employ you. Do I deserve your life for that? You were born in this universe of infinite planets for that? Nah, please, you owe nothing to any company, do your hours, get your raise and use it for your loved ones or yourself to make all your lives better. Thumbs up sign. This. And also always fight for more. More time off, more benefits, more pay. The less people are willing to stand up for what is theirs, the company will continue to take as much from them. We have lost this along the way and it's going to take a lot to get this back. Really nice. Work to live, don't live to work. My senior asked me once, why don't I read finance news? I told him that, whole day I work on finance and don't want to spend more time on it outside the work. I still remember the surprise on his face. A lot of us don't have a choice, lol. There's a Chinese saying, asterisk, when you're young, sacrifice your health to make money. When you're old, spend your money on your health. Star. So true for so many. But it is sad, because there are other ways to find a balance. Thanks for the post. I definitely agree with the sentiment, and I suffer from this myself. Hopefully others will post about how they do this. Turning your phone off / not checking Slack all night, finding other hobbies. You build your life then protect it, I would imagine, save it for nights and weekends? I don't know what Slack is, but it's not too hard to make yourself unavailable when not at work. I'm so confused about work. I completely agree with the whole work to live, not live to work sentiment, and I ultimately agree with this post, that you shouldn't make work your whole life, for the various reasons you listed. But typical work is 40 hours a week. For the majority of your life. With a measly 25 days off a year, so, if I don't find a job that I absolutely love, I will be miserable for the majority of my life. What am I meant to choose then? Do I go after my life's passions, try to monetize everything I enjoy, so I can enjoy my work? Or do I pick something that doesn't excite me, and spend 9+ hours a day, every day, for like 50 years, putting all of my energy into that and being miserable and having no time to do what I actually enjoy? Sorry about your grandfather. That's really too bad. I used to work at an older manufacturing company and witnessed this firsthand. It was a decent place to work, and people had a lot of pride in it. Unfortunately, a lot of the older employees were so wrapped up in their jobs, when early retirements came around, they didn't do very well. I saw a lot of larger-than-life personalities get reduced to meek, lost, frail individuals in a matter of 1 to 2 years. Your granddad probably didn't really think of it as a job. He loved what he did and he was passionate about it. I almost find it a blessing that he found something he was so passionate about. Not everyone has something that really lights them up. It's too bad that he couldn't cope with the loss and didn't use his remaining time wisely. Historically, this idea will not click for the majority of people until they or someone close to them get diagnosed with a terminal illness. It is not their fault, it is just that we work for means to live. What do you think would make a mid-level person more upset, their child getting a C in a class or their company shorting their pay by a couple $100? If you saw an elderly neighbor attempting to walk to the store, would you call in late to help them? It affects more than just your personal growth, it also affects family and community. This is a huge thing. Asterisk, your job is what you do. It is not who you are. Asterisk, start from day one of your working life and find those things that define yourself. If you had a genie pop in and say all your worldly needs would be met forever. Now what kind of person are you, what do you like and don't like, what are your belief systems, your core ethical structure, and what makes you different from anyone else? Given a choice, what would you do with your free time? What's realistic, what's a dream, what are you doing for self-discovery and self-expression that doesn't harm anyone else or the world around you? We should try to cultivate at least one other self aside from our work self. So by day maybe you're an executive chef, but after hours, you're a gardener. Even just for 30 minutes. You can be a lot of different things. It is almost like having a second life. Try to use it. By doing this, you're never faced with the existential question of, I'm X. If I'm not doing X, then am I anyone at all? Pick at least one thing that isn't going to be too strenuous so you can enjoy it in your golden years. For example, my grandfather enjoyed a lot of video games, turn-based RPGs, mainly, as his eyesight wasn't good enough for things like shooters. I worry my father will end up like this. Whenever he's been in between jobs, he was a nightmare to be around. When he was stood down for COVID it was no different, he just couldn't sit still and was incredibly agitated and irritable. I take his opinions about work with a bowl full of salt. I think you misjudge your grandfather. It is not about career or employment, it is about fulfillment and meaning. Many people find meaning by being needed and being useful. Once that is removed and the limitations of being elderly set in, it is very difficult to find meaning in just existing. Like it or not, there are people out there that love what they do and are passionate about it. You say that everything that had to do with his career lit him up. He loved the job he had and it showed in his work. He traveled to exotic places and was probably regarded as an expert in his field. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, you say you want to avoid that at all costs. Nothing wrong with that stance in life. Your grandfather's approach to life wasn't wrong. It is just not something you want for yourself. You tell others to not make your job your whole life. As someone who is like your grandfather in that I love the work that I do, I would say that you don't want to make your job your whole life if you are not passionate about it. In short, don't fault your grandfather over it. He was a leader in his industry and very well respected. To go from that to retirement without a plan is hard on people. It genuinely makes me happy. Maybe I'll think differently as I grow older, but for right now it brings me happiness, fulfillment and inner peace. Sounds like he had an amazing few decades of life. You should be happy for him because of that, as so many people out there are miserable through their career and then miserable in retirement. I disagree with the premise of this post. People need to feel like they are contributing and have a purpose. It's evolutionary. If people didn't feel this way we wouldn't have gone far as a species. I used to think this way, but then I realized I loved what I did and didn't mind not switching off. I've had jobs like this though, and the 8 hours a day just always felt like wasted time. My dad did the same thing. Worked, ate, was grouchy and mean every day, and that's it. Problem is, he neglected to do anything to upkeep the house. No weatherproofing, windows are 40 years old and leak like crazy, didn't waterproof either showers so they're soft underneath. Literally 40 years of neglect. He brought home tons of tools, toolboxes, nice, red Craftsman ones, milling machines, lathes, just hundreds of tools and such that just sat there and still are, that are covered with cobwebs and rust. He retired and gave up. I'm sure he had clinical depression, but men of that era would never admit it. He died 12 years after retiring at 62 and left my 76-year-old mom to deal with it. I'm doing everything I can, trying to catch up and even doing a little remodeling, but seriously, I couldn't have been busting my ass for 10 plus hours a day, and it's going to take years to fix everything, but that wasn't a happy, fulfilling life for my dad. Eckhart Tolle covers this in CH4 of A New Earth. Oprah also has a podcast discussing it with him. Basically, let roles have their part but do not identify with them. Otherwise there's a clinging, i.e. overprotective parents, teachers who talk to everyone like their kids, and an anxiety when it goes. I love working 24/7, my business and then the several great jobs I had. Nothing wrong with it, better to have a life where you love something very much than not having any great passion about anything. And yes, depression is a bitch, but it is just another obstacle we as humans should try to overcome. Work stays at work. I do not bring it home, and I do not define my life by it. I do it solely as a source of income to pay bills and for my hobbies. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd never work another day in my life. I'd spend my time pursuing hobbies and with friends and family. Think about 10 hours a day for 5 days and maybe even weekends for the next 20 years, you become what you do. So basically work molds your character and habits, it gives you a purpose. Wow, I just posted a thread about my identity crisis. Realized this about a year ago. I was awakened at night by my smoke detectors. I discovered my furnace had malfunctioned and was able to call 911, shut off my furnace and exit my home. I took 3 things in that panic moment: my winter coat, my pet and my computer laptop. It wasn't until a couple days later I realized what I saved. I didn't save any of my grandson's drawings. I didn't save any family mementos. I didn't save important documents. I saved a replaceable electronic device that I didn't even own. The realization that there is truth to having a work/life balance was eye-opening. Find a hobby, explore the town you live in or neighboring town, join a club, learn how to play chess, try photography, paint by numbers, but do something outside of the job. My career is part of my identity. I try and not make it my whole life and keep a good social circle, but it is easy to revolve your life around work when there is endless stuff to work on and it is actually interesting. My job is just a way of putting food on my table, pay my bills, and allow me to save for rainy days. If I have any remote chance of getting financial freedom, be it strike lottery or have a rental property, I will quit my job and enjoy my life. That just means you're not in the right job. You want to choose a job where if you won the lottery, you would do. This is much better than winning the lottery. So sick of flaky employers and recruiters. I swear this has happened to me at least a dozen times now, it is to the point I expect it. I had an interview scheduled for today and the employer said she just needed to do a quick background check with the police, fairly standard stuff, so here I am waiting for her response, and it comes closer to the agreed upon interview time yet still no correspondence from her, so I send an email asking to postpone until the following day. I have other things to do this afternoon. Another hour goes by and I get a message on LinkedIn of all places. Sorry, we've decided to take a different direction with this position. She's hidden her LinkedIn profile, or blocked me or whatever, and now frankly I'm just kind of pissed off because my time has been wasted waiting up. And it is not like my background check would have came up, I've never even so much as spoken with an officer my entire life, so like what gives? If you decided to hire somebody else, say so, or for Christ's sake at least still conduct the interview. Especially since she reached out to me first. Same. Just got ghosted after a final interview, feels bad. It would be better if they can just send me the rejection so I can get some closure. Leave a Glassdoor review, it honestly disgusts me. If you had a 1+ hour interview and get ghosted, please give them a 1-star review. And also know you dodged a bullet. Why is it so hard getting a job you don't dislike? LOL, I've been in sales and managerial jobs before and I really dislike sales, and management is something I can do, but it has been in retail settings which are draining to me. I'm on Indeed and LinkedIn and it seems like scrolling through an ocean. I really want to help people and find something I'm passionate about. I currently work in an FC for Amazon and it is pretty physically demanding and monotonous. I've applied to move up but I've only been there a couple months and I'm already sick of the same thing every day for 10 hours LOL. This might be an unsatisfying answer for you. Jobs that tend to have better salary and / or lifestyles are also jobs where the workers have more leverage. These roles want in-demand positions requiring skills that are hard to hire for. The end result is workers that are hard to find and much harder to replace. Those jobs tend to be great because the workers have leverage with how difficult it is to replace them. I'm very sure you work hard at your job. Unfortunately, jobs such as retail management and working at an Amazon FC are relatively easier to replace. Hard work is very different from leverage. It requires less time to train someone into those roles. You're talking weeks if not a few months. In contrast, a SRE for Amazon AWS is someone who might require years of experience to truly understand their role. If you want to find jobs with great lifestyles and / or great pay, you need to find in-demand, hard-to-fill positions. Figure out what skills those positions require, learn those skills, and make it hurt more to let you go than to keep you on. Also add that if a non-leveraged job pays well, it usually has poor work-life balance and your employer gets their money's worth. I don't hate my job, I hate working in general. My second real job, and I realized it is not my job's issue, it is the fact I hate working in general. Call me lazy, but sitting in front of a laptop all day is making me miserable. I also feel no motivation and just do the minimum, because I get paid the same regardless. I'm planning to put every penny I have as collateral for a loan to invest in the stock market. Hope to get lucky and be able to pay back that loan and have some left over for passive income. So I can quit and do whatever I want. Anyone feel the same? For me, I think it's a matter of having way too much anxiety surrounding work. I don't have to love the job, but I feel so uncomfortable working for some random person I barely know. I imagine if I were doing the same exact job but working for a family member or friend, I would not have the same problems. I wouldn't be nervous to ask questions or afraid to make suggestions on making things more efficient. I also feel like my work can be done in about 15 hours, yet I work 40/week, so it all feels like I have to make my work take longer on purpose in order to seem useful. We all have days like this. I had one this morning. When I find it difficult to get up, I tell myself that someone I care about might need me one day. It gives me just enough to get started. Maybe because the work we do today is only paid subsistence wages, money just enough for you to survive. Your actual work production is far greater and undervalued by your company to make money. Increase in tech and productivity, we've been having that for the past 100 years, but this extra production and value doesn't go to you, it goes to your bosses. That is why there is so much income inequality. Eventually we are unable to afford necessities while the bosses have more money than they know what to do with. Despite production increasing and a large amount of resources, they are underused inherently in our system. That is the harsh reality. You aren't necessarily wrong. A job is still for the vast majority a need, not a want. I don't have a problem with working, it is the salary people in my country gets paid with that's a problem with me. There's no such thing as living wage and minimum wage in Malaysia. The employers pay you some of the most abysmal salaries and make you work a shit ton of work. It is normal to hear about your average Malaysians working 2 to 3 jobs just to supplement their income. If the salary weren't so shit in my home country, I would have thoroughly enjoyed working more. Either way, work sucks. My salary is fair. But working for other people and having to listen to a boss tell you what to do is giving me existential crisis. I really don't feel like working most days, but I have no choice. There's nothing about work that I really like except for the money. I feel the same for working in healthcare. I look forward to take a sabbatical next year. Maybe it is because this is a jobs-related subreddit, and although I don't feel the same way as you about working, it feels normal and a necessary part of life for me. I don't see why your idea is getting massively downvoted. You should check out subreddits related to financial independence, or FIRE movements if you are keen on retiring early through investments. That's me. I don't have any dream jobs. Have you tried looking at r/anti-work? We could totally automate most stuff and let people have more off days to spend with their family, friends, or hobbies. Have you seen the movie Office Space? You sound like Peter Gibbons. Our relationship to work is very unhealthy. Employers have too much power over our lives. And the employer/employee relationship is extremely one-sided, which fuels desperation even among the upper ranks. Workplace politics brings out the worst in people. I completely understand not wanting to participate. Understanding the root cause of unemployment and underemployment of recent college graduates. Hi everyone, I'm having a problem redefining my problem statement. It is about the high percentage of unemployment and underemployment of recent graduates. I broke it down into two problems that graduates have. 1. They can't find a job. 2. They can't find the right job, so they have to settle with a job that doesn't require their credentials. I used the 5 whys to get to the root of the problem, and here what I have. So FAR 1. They can't find a job because they either lack experience, or / and they don't have the skills, or / and they just didn't network. I broke down these 3 reasons. * They don't have the experience that employers are demanding in the entry-level position, which is 2 to 3 years. Why? Because they haven't gotten the chance to do internships while in college. Why? Because they either can't afford to take an internship due to a heavy college course load, or because there is not enough internship opportunities for every student. Not to mention that a lot of these internships are unpaid and students might not afford to have unpaid jobs because they need to pay tuition somehow. Why there is not enough opportunities? Because it is too much hassle for employers to set up an internship program. * They don't have a network, and we all know the power of knowing someone who knows someone. Why? They either don't know how to do it, or they don't understand the importance of it. Why? They don't have communication skills and / or they don't have enough exposure of its importance. Why? College doesn't teach communication skills and / or they don't emphasize the importance of network. * They can't find a job because they don't have the skills that employers are demanding from them. I've read many research and survey papers that back that statement up. Why? Education providers are not teaching demanded skills. Why? They are not directly communicating with businesses and employers and / or they aren't flexible enough to change an entire system of education that is built on teaching knowledge rather than skills. 1. They can't find the right job. Underemployed. Why? First possible reason: because they have chosen the wrong major in college. Either it wasn't aligned with their true interests, or it just not in demand major anymore. Why? Because they didn't have access to tools that help them become more self-aware, or / and they didn't have access to labor market information and career counselor. Second possible reason: they don't know how to promote themselves and / or translate the skills they have acquired during school to skills that employers want. Why? Because they either have psychological barriers like fears, or they just not able to communicate / articulate their transferable skills. I don't even understand how the networking part of things is good advice for recent grads like me. I understand how knowing someone can get you in, but like myself and practically every other person I know, we don't know anyone anywhere, just professors, other students, and other trivial connections. Networking is key before graduating. I too failed to do it when I was in college because I was unaware how cold the world was. LOL, I thought a college degree was like the key to jobs because we are basically brainwashed that since like 8th grade. The reality is networks is key, and it is easier to do it when you are a young student. Once you are out of school, look older etc., no one wants to speak to you. It is a cold world out of college. It means going to industry events and such to meet people in the industry, some of whom will be hiring. Nowadays this is harder, but in major cities pre-COVID it wasn't difficult to find some kind of regular meetup related to some major industry in the city. At the last meetup I went to before COVID, a few people stood up and pretty much gave their resume elevator pitch to the whole room in hopes that someone would want to hire them. Connections are pretty important where I live, so YMMV depending on city/industry. Yep, other students who are really in the same boat and are most likely competing for the same job because you guys are in the same major. I get what you're saying, but you can actually do lots of stuff during college to build your network. You can 1. Join alumni associations and reach out to its members. 2. Use LinkedIn to reach out to people who already work in the career you want to get your foot in. 3. Reach out to your professors, invite them to coffee/tea and ask if they can introduce you to people who can help you with your career like job shadowing and information interviews opportunities. 4. Get in touch with people you admire and ask if they can mentor you. It is a low chance that they will have time, but it never hurts to try. My point is there are a lot of ways you can establish/build your network during college. I attended recently a career summit where I asked about the number one thing they have done that helped get their foot in the door, and almost every panel member said I knew someone that knew someone. It is so unfair, but this is the reality. If you can't beat them, join them. Alright, I can tell you are young as heck. As someone who graduated already, I will give you a summary of why so many of us deal with unemployment. 1. Competition. There are more people looking for jobs than open and available jobs. This makes companies picky as hell. If you don't have a lot of experience or know someone or get super lucky, you are screwed too. Companies are cold and just don't care. A job will open up. It is common to put hundreds of qualified people through the interview process. 3-4 rounds of interview each person, tons of wasted time, then they just decide at hire internally at the end. 3. Companies only want superstars, people with years of experience, perfect resumes, no work gaps, top references, good uni, etc. 4. Getting referred by a friend or family member is the superpower that can get you over the above, but how many of us know someone in a good company? Not a whole lot, so fourth problem would be that knowing someone really relies on luck. Properly networking can be out of your control basically due to competition. Companies are picky and cold. Just because you have a degree, struggled with XYZ, have a nice story, no one cares. You need to be experienced, look good on paper and interview perfectly, and even that's not enough in many cases. And lastly, knowing someone is a very powerful tool, but it really relies on luck. Companies only want superstars. Literally read an ad today looking for a unicorn dental appointment scheduler. It is a goddamn office job that pays minimum wage. But they want experience with that one specific program that dental offices use. Oh, and if you could also speak Spanish and have previous experience. You know. In filling out what amounts to be a calendar. I would say in school, for the majority of the degrees, what is taught is mostly theory, and it is either outdated or really basic / not really related to what the different industries focuses on. There are a few degrees where what you learn is put into practice, such as medical school and some math degrees. Also, networking isn't magic / instant, it is more like a professional formal friendship kinda, if you get what I mean. It can take years / months because you are building a relationship before you reap the benefits. People want to know your character, they aren't going to recommend you otherwise, and that doesn't happen over 1 to 4 meetings that you may meet people. By the time you are in your senior year, if you haven't started a few months back, you are already late in the game. I think you're wrong. College isn't a trade school. They don't exist to teach you how to get a job in XYZ field. There's no magic bullet by picking the perfect major, you're going to be immediately employable upon graduation. Internships don't often lead to jobs, they can be useful in teaching you about the real world and that entry-level jobs aren't often glamorous. If you're studying political science, you'll learn that a campaign doesn't want you to write a position paper on healthcare reform, they need you to organize a grassroots door-to-door campaign. Pre-COVID networking is also overrated, especially for recent grads. Sure, it's great if your frat brother's dad is hiring, but that's not often the case. In all honesty, job hunting sucks. It's far more like dating than a science. In my opinion, communication skills are the responsibility of parents. Parents should ideally teach their kids early on how to advocate for their skills and how the world works. This can be done by having them work summers the earliest possible. Many kids grow up like me thinking good grades are all that matter. This will set those soon-to-be adults at a massive advantage over their peers. Second, no one told me what employers look for when I was in college. I did engineering and cared about the subjects I liked, but I had zero ideas about the technologies I will be working with once I am done with college. Granted, I am a recent immigrant and the engineering market where I did my bachelor's is just not competitive. I had to do a master's here in the US and learn as many skills as I can to secure a job I liked. Third, to get the right job, which could be a niche or in a competitive industry, you either have to be cream of the crop from the get-go or have strong hiring connections, or both. A connection by itself isn't enough in many industries. As an engineer, I am not going to recommend a friend who I think isn't fit to do a job. Qualifications and / or potential still have to be there. Fourth, college programs need to be put under the microscope and more scrutiny in terms of their outcomes. Academics have been having it easy for far too long. Schools need to overhaul this system to serve the benefits of the students who fund them, not vice versa. This can be done by increased collaboration with industry firms, offering courses by industry professionals, and burdening them with finding the training / internships opportunities for each of their students. I wanted to apply for a job, but the job posting was taken down. I was working on a job application, but the posting got removed from their website and LinkedIn. Fortunately, I have a connection who works there and she is the one who told me about the job. I messaged her and stated if I could still apply or if the job is unavailable. I got a notification on LinkedIn stating that someone from their company viewed my profile, but I can't see who. My connection responded to me 1 week later and said that the job position is filled. What do you think happened? Just did a Zoom interview for my dream job. I'm freaking out. I just finished my interview and I think it went super well. They seemed to really like me and we interacted well and I answered all the questions confidently. I was told the HR woman I spoke to would get back to me sometime this week. Fingers crossed, laughing face. I really just wanted to share this with someone. Don't get your hopes up. Keep looking. Sad but true. I recently got edged out of a position I was incredibly well qualified for. The interviewers said I knocked it out of the park, but another candidate had more relevant experience. Exactly. I had an interview for my dream job and after the interview they said they don't want me because it's not in the industry I seem to want more. So it won't be my dream job, they picked for me. The company actually was in that industry I look for, just the position itself was more on the operations side is all. Still pissed about it. Congratulations on doing well. Now comes the tough part, waiting.
Like and subscribe for more Reddit content. Watch the next video at the top of your screen.